Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about databases. I'm Kenneth.
I am Sumaya.
I am Progga. What are databases?
Database. Database is a structured collection of data that allows us to extract information. It is the electronic way of filing information to allow efficient storage, retrieval, cross-checking of data. Data can include text, numbers, pictures, or anything that can be stored in a computer. Databases are useful in preventing data problems. Data is only stored once, so no data duplication. If any changes are made, it can be done once so that the data is consistent. The same data is used by everyone.
What is a database used for?
So, the uses of database. It is firstly used to store information about people, like patients in a hospital, students at a school. Secondly, it is used to store information about things, like cars to be sold, books in a library, and thirdly, to store information about events, like hotel booking, results of races.
Structure of a database.
A database's most common structure is known as a database table. It consists of rows and columns. It is also known as a two-dimensional array as it has two indices which corresponds to the rows and columns of the table. It is mainly a collection of records which in database terminology are each rows. A field corresponds to the column of the table and represents one single value for each record.
Defining a database.
Next, we will be talking about defining a database. So, what do we actually understand when we say this phrase? Defining a database means to determine the data type for each of the fields in our database and the database we will be creating. If we input any other type of data except the one that is assigned in that particular field, it will not work. All in all, it will not be stored in the database. To do this, we'll be using Microsoft Access, which is a software we use to create databases, and I started off by opening up a blank database template. To name the table, let's assume that a music teacher wants to record the information about all his students in his music club, so we can name the table Music Club. So now comes the part where we need to determine the field names and assign data types to them. The first field is ID, and we can assign the data type number to it. ID will also be our primary key because ID is unique to every student. We must also keep in mind that the data types in Access is different from what we usually listen to or what we usually know. So we must also keep consideration of that. The next field name can be name, the date can be short text. For the next field, we can go for class and assign short text for this too. And next we can give section, which is also a very important detail to the identity of a student, and we can give short text here too. And let's bring some numbers into it and give the next field date of joining. For this, we can use date or time. And the last field we will be giving is date of birth. Which we can also give as date or time. So now we have our field names and we have assigned the data types to it. We will save it and go back to the table. And we see that the database has been created. So now, if we give ABC into the ID and try to go to the next column, it will not work because that's not the data type we have assigned to it. So we must give a valid data according to the data type assigned. So we will give 2007010089, a basic ID number of any student, and this time this data has been stored. So that's how we define a database.
Query by example.
Query by example is basically getting information from a database, and that's what we will be doing now. And I created a database from the fields we created, and also the music teacher had forgotten to add a field. He can do from so here. Suppose he wants to add phone number, so he can add a field which we can name phone number. Randomly assign values. So that's how he created another field in his database. And now this music teacher wants to sort out all the students that are in class 10 and see which section they are in. And this has only 7 data here, but normally a music club has a lot of students and it's difficult to actually pick out all the students who are in class 10. And therefore we will be doing that. And we can do that by creating a query. So we should go to create and then query design. And this is where we can select the table from where we will create the query. And we choose music lump. Since the music teacher wants to know the names and class and the section of the people of class 10, and therefore we chose these 3 fields for our query table. And these boxes actually show that which fields will be shown in that table after this query by example is done. So the teacher wanted to find out which students are in class 10. And therefore in the criteria under class we must give class 10 and then run this table. So we see that all the students who are in class 10 in that music club database are now in this query and all sorted out for the teacher, and it is very easy for him to know which students are in class 10 and in which section they are. So this is basically how we create a query and get information from a database.
That brings us to the end of our discussion about databases. Thank you.